Scarlett Blade. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Silent Night, Memoirs of a Royal Guard, Chapter 22. It was 2 hours before I got the officer I requested, Shining Armor himself. That gave me some peace of mind. His expression was a mix of concern and relief. The cleanup was just underway, and he came to my side. "Are you married, sir?" I asked him, trying to lighten the mood lightly. The captain shook his head. "No. Turns out the bride was a changeling queen that feeds off of love." "We've all been there, sir," I said dryly as he actually laughed. We stood there in silence for a while, and then he sighed. "What a mess. Is it true Astral Dyke froze up when it counted? Ending another pony's career is a tough thing to do. Having bad officers was even worse, however." So I nodded. Besides, what did it matter? A dozen ponies had been there when he froze, and my career was over too. I defended my mare instead of my princess. It was not exactly a banner day for the Royal Guard. "You saved a lot of ponies today," he went on, snapping me out of my funk. "Sir, you kept your promise, Silent Knight. With all the cards were on the table, you rallied every pony and kept them focused. Dyke froze up, you did your duty, and that saved lives." Did my duty? I had done nothing of the sort. No, I'd actually acted like a fool. Certainly, I had filled in for the lieutenant, but any of the others could have done that. I stood silently. I should just tell him now, and be done with it. "Are you okay to hold the floor here while I handle everything else? The whole city is a mess. There's a lot to take in, and I don't have anyone to spare. The injury list runs on and on." "Yes, sir," I said. "Better not to burden him with any more thing now. It could wait until a more pressing matter were handled. He was responsible for the house guards, the palace, the city, after all." Shining Armor nodded and said, "Good, thank you. Oh, you'll need this." There wasn't much ceremony into it. We didn't have time. He took the rank pin off my armor and replaced it with a sergeant's pin. Looking down at the pin, I shook my head. "I don't deserve that." The captain looked at me, confusion playing across his face. "Well, I don't have time to argue it with you, and I don't have enough guards, so you're stuck with it. Carry on, Sergeant," he said before heading off to attend the others. "Yes, sir," I said once he was gone. "Sergeant, huh?" Iridescence asked me from the bed in the infirmary. It was the first time I had been able to get down to see her. 2 days later. We had been busy filling in our gaps, going over security and getting things back together. Canterlot was a mess, and all the extra guards were trying to handle that. That left a whole lot of mess for us, for the palace and the princesses. It was all of that and the fact that I simply didn't want to face her. "I guess," I said, looking her over. She was on her back with a hoof up in a sling. She was bandaged around the body, both legs and her head. She reached out and took my hoof in hers. "Princess Luna isn't going to say anything." I shook my head. "I don't care if she does or not. I made a decision. Part of me regrets it, but the rest of me is overjoyed I did. Let them relieve me. You're safe." Iridescence nodded and smiled, but it was a sad smile. "About that, listen, Silent Knight, please don't take this as me being ungrateful. I'm very grateful." She squeezed my hoof. I don't want to be a burden on you, nor do I want the reason Luna gets hurt." Slowly she shook her head. "I don't think you can do your job with me around." "What?" I blinked. "Iridescence, what are you saying?" She swallowed. "I'm saying you had to make an impossible choice that no pony could win. You made it and it worked out. Next time it might not. But there can't be a next time. I don't want the to be responsible for ruining your career. When I'm well enough to travel, I'm going home. I need to use my holiday time. After that, I'll probably put in a transfer." Gently, I let her hoof go and set mine down. "What about us?" I asked, already suspecting the answer. Iridescence didn't say anything for a while. I just stood there, and if we were going to do this, we were going to do it now. "I don't honestly know if I'm coming back," she started. "It wouldn't be fair to you anyway. Long distance just doesn't work, and then there are the regulations. I think we can call it quits, okay? My chest hurt even though I knew it was coming. It felt like some pony had hit me right in the gut. I didn't move. I couldn't. I finally said blankly, "Okay." "Are you okay?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. "Silent Night?" "Okay," I repeated, and I backed out of her room and then trotted quickly away from the infirmary. Under my armor, I was having trouble breathing. I had to get away and hide. None of it was worth it. The hard work, long days, pain, and stress hadn't paid off. I had been one of the elite. Now I had nothing. This was nothing like I had dreamed of. My heart pounded as I galloped out of the palace, half blinded by pain. I found somewhere to hide, a small room off the main hall, I think. Desperately, I tossed my helmet off before I collapsed on the couch. My body shook as I laid there a few times. "Hello? Is someone in there?" A voice called. Oh no, I thought. I was going to be found in this starry state. Oh, what did it matter? I tried to be still behind the couch, but my armor rattled as I shook. Hoofsteps came closer, and the couch illuminated with a golden magic. Gently, I slid away, revealing Princess Celestia. She raised a hoof in surprise. It must have been the most pathetic pony she had ever seen. "You are Silent Night, are you not?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Words failed me at that moment. I just nodded to her. In my surprise, she settled onto the floor at my side. The princess wrapped her wing around me and asked, "What is wrong, my little pony?" I told her everything, every last detail, at least what I could manage. As I fought hard not to sob, it was the confession of the pony with nothing to love. Princess Celestia just listened. The ruler of a nation, a living goddess, just held me while I unloaded my petty concerns on her. That was just the sort of pony she was. No judgment, no anger, just love. That is why I had wanted to protect her so badly, and yet she was protecting me. Eventually the shaking stopped, and I wiped my eyes. The princess lightly stroked my mane and finally said, "I can forgive you, but it will be meaningless if you can't forgive yourself. Will you do that for me, please?" "I still have to face what I've done," I said quietly. She agreed, "Yes, but that is only part of it. Can you forgive?" She rose and I did the same. I squared myself away and looked up at her. "I will, Princess. Whatever it takes, I'll move forward," I promised her. Princess Celestia smiled and replied, "I'm glad. We're better off with you than without. Good day, Silent Night." "Good day, Princess," I bowed deeply. She left me to my own devices, and I put my helmet back on. I was still shaking, but some things in life are like a bandage. They're easier to deal with if you just rip it off quicker. I decided then and there that it was time to inform the captain. My account to Captain Armor was similar, but lacked the sobbing and most of the shaking, thankfully. He listened to it all without an expression. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "I'm honestly surprised." I nodded and said, "I'll clean out my footlocker, sir." The captain shook his head. "Ease up there. You've made a mistake or two, a few mistakes that have to be weighed against all of your accomplishments. Dating your peer isn't against regulations. You also didn't lie about it. You just didn't mention it was as serious as it was. Obviously, now that you're a sergeant, you can't be together." He winced. "Sorry. Poor choice of words." "It's fine," I said, but it was like throwing salt on a fresh wound. "As far as I'm concerned, you made a decision that needs review. The regulations say we investigate it and decide if you acted in a fashion that makes the most sense. Nothing is a black and white, as you seem to think. You weighed saving a life against protecting the princess from a clearly smaller threat. Even if your judgment was clouded by affection, it was still a decision any of us would have considered." Shining Armor paused a moment and paced back and forth. "Furthermore, the investigation would likely agree that you saved a fellow guard's life without exposing Princess Luna to too much danger. Over and beyond that, Princess Luna did not report this incident, which means the investigation would have to agree that she did not feel at risk or that your decision was wrong. Finally, you could have said nothing. You could have hidden this. You had every incentive not to come here and tell me, and yet you did. Your personal integrity is without question. This was not going the way I'd imagined. It sounded like the captain was proud of me. Maybe he just didn't want to kick me while I was down. Silent Night, are you paying attention? He asked. I'd gotten lost in thought again. I'm confused. Sir, I admitted, I feel awful, and like I let you and the princess down. You're not angry, you're making excuses for me. Is that what you think? He asked sternly, a bit of temper rising in his voice. I stiffened and blinked. I don't know. I stammered. He had broken my cool just like that. I wasn't accustomed to the captain being angry with me. It was startling, but I managed to recover. Listen up and listen good. Mistakes are part of the job. I made them and I'll make more. You're not going to last long if you let every small thing eat you up inside. Is it just that you want to give up? Is that it? That certainly is easier. He continued, his tone firm and unyielding. No, sir, I couldn't imagine my life without being a royal guard. He stamped a hoof. Then act like it, he shouted, not angrily, but like our instructor had in the academy. The ponies that make it are the ones that make mistakes and learn from them. You have to do better the next time. It is the ponies that keep making the same mistake that concern me. Which sort are you? Are you going to make these mistakes again? I shook my head. No, sir, never again. I've learned a hard lesson. You're right, you did, he said, his voice dropping. Now, I could refer this to command for an inquiry, but that would be, in my professional opinion, a waste of time. The princess would speak for you. You'd get through without even a mark on your record. Do you want me to waste my and other officers' time to do that? I'm making excuses for you? No, sir, I said loudly. Very good. Then would you agree it is time to actually get to work? I've got a laundry list. I need a sergeant to handle it. His tone changed slightly. And I imagine you need something to keep you occupied for now. Yes, sir. About time, then, Shining Armor said before motioning me over to his desk. He had schedules and rosters there. Sergeant Winchester was injured, and I was taking over her squad temporarily. Or so I thought. Over the next hour, I found out life was going to be difficult after today. Sergeant Winchester was retiring. Iridescence was going on an extended leave, and we were getting a new lieutenant that was solely assigned to Princess Luna's house guard. Over and beyond that, High Command had decided it is time for additional expansion to ensure our unit was close to the same size as Princess Celestia's. That meant new faces and a lot of training. I looked it all over and then across the desk to the captain. Perhaps we could revisit the part about me quitting? Too late now, Silent Night. You're in the thick of it, he replied, and I was glad. The Royal Guard was there for me, and I was going to go back to giving myself wholly over to it. Well then, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Holy cow, 3 episodes in one sitting. Oh.